Let's start with the champs, the reigning champs, Gotham FC. They finished last year in 8th place at the end of the season, that last playoff spot, which we all knew, a part of us all knew that they were going to run it all the way to lifting the trophy. Their head coach is Juan Carlos Amaros, and they've made some big moves in this offseason. Considering they are the champions, they technically didn't have to make too many moves, but they said, let's bolster up. They brought in midfielder Savannah McCaskill, a veteran in the NWSL. They brought in forward Jordan Dudley and another forward, Andrea Kitahara. They've also said goodbye to some big players. Jace is gone, Josephine Hasbo, and Ella Stevens are all the outgoing transfers from Gotham FC. Now, Darian, were there holes that needed to be filled by Gotham? Like, what changes did you actually need to see from the champions in this offseason, and did they make them?
I think they brought in well, they didn't have to make changes. Let's get that right. But it's also Gotham. They're gonna make big moves and big changes. We've seen that.
Aberbush doesn't sleep.
Season. Yeah, she don't play either. They're gonna make some big changes. I think what they brought in was depth. To me, Savannah McCaskill is the key here, but she is somebody that in that double pivot with Jay Howell, it's so important. And I like it adds depth, but it also adds a different technicality and tactics to their game. I think because she can be so aggressive going forward, she's somebody that always wants to be on the ball. And that connection that she has between Howell and Lavelle and her ball playing ability to go forward. I think when Rose was out last season, that was a big question for Gotham is who's igniting the attack? Who else can they rely on when she's not there to break lines via dribbling, always be wanting the ball, attract defenders so it opens up different spaces? I think this is an improved side. Yes, they let go of some players, but in the way that this adds another trinket to their already very packed arsenal is massive. So I think with the signings that they made and Jordan Dudley, I cannot wait to see her with this side. And the amount of games and extra tournaments that they're playing in is massive. So definitely improved.
I was surprised that they picked up a player like Savannah McCaskill because I think Gotham, no, they didn't need to change. If it's not broke, don't fix it. But they needed depth because of all these extra competitions. Savannah McCaskill is not a depth player. She's a starter. She's a game changer. She's a player that really contributes. So I'm very, very intrigued to see how Juan Carlos Amaros is going to set up his midfield because it's stacked. He has so many midfielders on this roster. How is he going to work them all in? What's the rotation going to look like? Are we going to see more rotation because of how many competitions they're playing in, right? They already competed in the FIFA Women's Champions Cup that was earlier in January. Like the whole offseason was entirely different for Gotham too. They had to report, I think it was like January 1st to go over to Europe to then compete in this competition. They really didn't get that long of an offseason. So I am surprised that they brought in Savannah McCaskill because she's a player that plays, a veteran that consistently gets a lot of minutes. How are they going to utilize her this year? That's what I'm excited.
Well, we got to see that already, right?
Right.
Like, we've seen that. And I think McCall, sir, you jump in, but I think last year they relied on their youth a lot, the really young players, the rookies to step in and fill those gaps. Now they're to that level, but they also have a player where if you want to play, you need to play better than Howell, McCaskill, Lavelle. That is tough. It's tough.
I mean, I had my same concerns about bringing McCaskill in. I don't think she's in that point of her career yet where she's going to be a bench player. I think she's still a starter. She still has a lot to offer. So I think she's at her best when she's in an 8 position, a link player, that link midfielder. We've seen her this past season for San Diego. She had to play in that 6 role, and she was a little bit more pigeon-held lower on the field and had to maintain that space in front of the back 4 for safety purposes. But now that Howell is there, now she'll bump up a little bit more to the 8 and be that link player. And I think that's when we're going to see McCaskill at her best, when she can push and pull strings, when she can play those through balls. And so if you think Howell, McCaskill, Rose, Lavelle, I think that trio, they're all in their best positions and work really well together.
So then if that's the midfield, McCall, who's going to be in the front line for Gotham this year? Because there's also a lot of players there. Like, where does Jaden Shaw fit into this mix? What's her best position? I'd argue it's in that 10 as well.
Okay, so you like her a little bit lower.
I like her a little bit lower with the freedom to go higher.
but then I like Estera best at 9. So then you're like, where do you put Jaden Shaw, right? But I think that she can play a false 9 or a positive 10. I think that she can play as an inverted winger at times. And, based on, they're flexible. Like Juan is very sure in what he wants tactically, but because they have depth and they can tweak their style of play a little bit depending on their opponent and looking at the spaces that they want to exploit. And so they have every tool in the box, whichever way they want to play. And it's a champagne problem to have Savannah McCaskill and Jaden Shaw and Roosevelt in that who's going to play this match kind of situation.
Yeah, absolutely is champagne problems. They did also re-sign Midge Purse. She was a free agent. Some question marks about where she was going to go. She is staying with Gotham. That's also another threat, another wrinkle into the attack, another champagne problem, if you will, that Juan Carlos Amorós has. So overall, bolstered a little bit, gotten some depth, gotten some young players that are going to come in, improve themselves, improved. But what are our expectations, Darian, for Gotham this year? Is it back-to-back championships for Gotham?
Can they win a Shield? I think that's what's next. Yes, you've won the championship. Now can we see how consistent you can be throughout the entire season? Okay, now you've added depth. Okay, now there's layers to your attack. Now you can plug and play when you're playing a Kansas City versus you're playing a Louisville. Those ask completely different things of this team. We're not going to see the same iteration of Gotham every single game because they've acquired those players. Now can we see that to where you can hold it out and win a Shield and get that number 1 playoff spot and not be having us biting our nails, thinking our predictions are busted and coming in last place at the last week of the regular season. I think that's where Gotham needs to look ahead and say, okay, we can have that second half of the season push at the jump of the season because they didn't change much. They've just added.
Please, yeah. Gotham, don't create this historic narrative where you're trying to land 6th or 8th just so you can get first place and win the championship. Like, I don't want that anymore. I agree. I think they had some inconsistent performances last season. I mean, if y'all remember, there was a time where there was 5-6 games where they were really struggling and people were writing them off if they were even going to make playoffs. So
that was early. That was
it was late spring, early summer. However, that to me is the sign of, an inconsistent team, inconsistent performances, to your point, D, youth growing into themselves. But if they can just be pure dominance, I want to see them get the most points in the league this season. I want to see how high they can really go, because if they're firing on all cylinders for the entire season, they could break the points record.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could see that. Be the chasees, not the chasers. And I feel like Gotham is constantly chasing what they can do. I think it's a top 4 finish. I don't know about winning the Shield, guys. Kansas City is a machine. They are a machine. But I'm going to go top 4 for Gotham. I think that they will be securely in the playoffs and also hosting a playoff as well, which changes things a little bit for them.